Guys, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Franchise Advisory Board, where we bring in experts from the franchise community who can help you build strategies that are actionable and help you create memorable and thriving franchise brands. Now, to do that, I've got with me today Keith Levenson, and many of you might know this guy already. So you might know him as the Grand Poobah of Franchising at Biller Genie, or it's just a guy that is an excellent golfer, a good drinker, but knows a ton about franchising, right? But Keith's a lot more than that. So I want to tell you guys a bit about why I want him on the podcast today, not just because he's a good friend of mine and somebody I really respect, but because he's got a deep understanding of how franchise systems really work. He is actually the grand poobah of franchising at Biller Genie. And Biller Genie, guys, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, then we'll let Keith do this. But excellent platform that was designed for multi-location service businesses that are having issues getting cash. A lot of businesses struggle with this. We're going to talk about this today, like the cash crunch, the cash, speed to cash, all those things that matter so much in franchising, and nobody ever talks about them. It's all EBITDA, 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 EBITDA. Okay, cool, that's great, but if you don't have any cash coming on the books, who gives a crap about your EBITDA, right? Keith is going to tell us a little bit more about that. But before we do, Keith, tell us a little bit more about you. Tell us about Biller Genie, then we'll jump in.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's good being on here with you too, and just even catching up. It's been miss my client Heather team and family over there. It's a great group of people. So, and Wayne. Uh, no, yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, Biller Genie, we're an accounts receivable software platform that's been around since 2019. And our founders, Garima and Tom, both were in the payments world forever, and
Mhm.
saw that there was a gap. People just didn't, they weren't getting their money fast enough. So they built a software platform that they thought was going to actually help them on the processing side, and realized we're a SaaS company. So that's what we've been for the last 6 years, is just selling software, and have over 5,000 clients on the platform today. A little over 400 franchisees of brands are working with us. I was brought in to kind of get the word out of who Biller Genie is to the franchise world, because these franchisees have come to us really just through our other channels, but we don't really have a go-to-market strategy. So that's me now. So doing this, kept going out and hitting the shows, and yeah, I think I'm a better drinker than I am a golfer now, though, too.
Okay.
Oh, wait, maybe I golf better when I drink.
Yeah, there's kind of an inverse relationship I hear. Yeah, between the
Yeah,
two.
yeah, exactly. There's a sweet spot you got to get into. And then if you keep going, though, then you just, that seventh transfusion can be a bit of an issue. And so, anyways, yeah, so that's what Biller Genie is. We really just have an amazing team with over 85 employees in both the US and Belfast. We've got a great development team that's in Belfast, Ireland. They're hilarious. But yeah, it's a really wild organization to work for.
That's grand. Belfast. I'd love to go visit the team over there.
Right, everybody wants to.
I know.
One of our corporate rocks is to have the international travel be on the Biller Genie jet in a few years.
Okay, awesome. I love that, dude. Good goal. Well,
Right.
guys, so the reason why Keith's here is this is a real issue, right? So they're a partner of ours at Client Tether, but we've known these guys for years, and one of the things that since like service brands that are invoicing, right? Anybody, if you're out like painting or doing a roofing job or doing a fence or doing any service where you're going to be invoicing, client's going to be paying you for something rather than just like point of sale, swipe your card, come in and get a massage. The accounts receivable becomes a real challenge.
Yeah.
And you can have a business that on the P&L looks freaking amazing, and if they're not collecting cash, they're going out of business, right?
Yep.
And,
It's the
and
truth, right?
yeah,
I mean,
when was
cash
the
flow, it's such an important aspect of it, right? We even add into the item seven, right? Your last line in there is what? Additional cash flow for franchises when they're in that startup mode. Is it 3 months or 6 months? So when they start to bill, what happens to that? Like there's a statistic that I learned here at Bill or Genie. It's the typical small business from date of invoice till payment on average is 47 days. That's how long it takes. That's a long carry, especially if you've just now opened a franchise, right? You spent a couple $100,000 to get it going. Maybe you're a pool service, so you need a nice branded truck like a Puddle Pools, right? Somebody
Mhm.
like that, or and now you're out there in the field, and you're doing the work and you're doing the service, and now you need to be paid. And that cash flow is going to be critical, because how are you going to buy that second round of supplies, that third round of supplies? Hey, you know what? This is great. We're getting a lot of business, but I don't have enough cash to put down for the truck that I need to, because I need another technician out there, right? So it's a really important piece of the puzzle. And in our platform, our client averages 8 days from invoice to payment.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
And can I just reiterate that for a second and maybe reframe that? Because, guys, uh, nobody's reporting cash flow data. And I've never seen it in item 19. It might be somewhere, but no one does. They always report P&L data. But the speed with which a franchisee collects cash, especially early on, is super critical, right? If they don't have the cash, they're not going to make payroll. You don't make payroll, and you're losing your best people. And people are what generates the revenue in most of these businesses. So the speed with which you collect that cash from the time you complete the job, because you're carrying all the expenses, is really critical. 45 days, 47 days. That means I've got to pay the interest on my credit card on what I just bought to do that job before I ever collect. So that means that the cost of that job goes up by an extra 17.9% or whatever that interest rate is on the cash you just spent, right? That's
Right,
huge.
right.
That's
It's
huge. No
huge.
one's calculating that or talking about that right now.
Right. And yeah, I think it's so critical, especially like in a brand where you're like to your point about the payroll, right? You imagine you buy this company, you buy this franchise system, and you're doing it, and I hate to use the word semi-absentee, right? But
Boo.
right, exactly. But a lot of us are doing it, right? A lot of franchise systems are built that way. And now you've got somebody in there who's a general manager that you hired that you know has this ton of experience in the
Mhm.
world that you're now trying to get into, and all of a sudden you're going to them and saying, or her and saying, "Look, Sally, I'm sorry. I'm going to be 2 weeks late on payroll."
Yeah.
It's it's a mess, and
Mhm.
you've got to get it straightened. The sooner you get it straightened out, the better off you're going to be. And cut and systemize. Like we all talk about systemization. This is one area where you talk to so many franchise systems, and there's a gap. Like they don't really have a true system of, oh, we use QuickBooks. Okay, well, QuickBooks is going to send out 3 invoices, can't do late payments. You're going to have a surcharge for every especially if you're using QuickBooks as your payment source. Now you're paying that tech fee on top of it because you have no way to pass that tech fee the person who you're actually providing the service to.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe it's 3%, 3.5% that your franchisee is now missing on the bottom line. That's not revenue now, that's an expense. You can
Yeah.
turn that into revenue, non-royalty collected revenue, but it's still revenue for them. And now they're actually the dollars that they're paying you royalties on, they're actually collecting 100% of those dollars as opposed to missing out on 3%, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, but neither one of us is a math major, right? But let's just do pencil math for a minute. I bring in, let's say, 88 or $80,000 a month, which is about $1 million a year. $1 million times 0.03. That's the average, right? The credit card collection fee. That's $30,000 of cash that I burn every year. $30,000. That's enough to pay for half of my next vehicle in cash if I buy a new one. That's enough to pay for a full-time office manager or like maybe 3/4 time office manager, right? Like we're
Right,
talking about a decent chunk of cash just burned that people aren't even thinking about.
right,
And now multiply that by, let's say there are 100 units in my franchise system. Ruh-roh, that's a lot of money. That's
right,
$3 million that my franchise system is burning. That should be in my franchisee's pocket. So, as a responsible franchisor, what should you be doing with this surcharging, issue that everyone's dealing with? And now recognize, and I know you could riff on this for a while, like different states have different rules about how you charge this.
yeah.
But frankly, and that's why I think a lot of franchisors are like, oh, it's scary. Like you can't be scared by it. You have to solve the problem for your people because they need that 30 grand a year of cash.
100%. And it's from the consumer side, right? We've been conditioned now that we understand we're paying that fee. You go to a restaurant and there's a surcharge on there for your tab. You're right. We took my daughter out to dinner last night because she just got home from college for the summer. And damn if there wasn't a surcharge because we were paying with a credit card. Like
Uh-huh.
it's just become common. This is how business is done today. These charges are passed along. Ticketmaster was probably the first one that ever started it. Maybe then and now it's rolled out to every business that you have. And if you're in the service industry and you're doing recurring service to someone and you're eating that every single month when they're making that help my lawn service, I pay for it with a credit card because I don't cut my grass because my allergies. I've got allergies. Yeah, that's the reason. It's not my laziness. But anyways, look, that's on there too. Or I could pay with ACH if I wanted to. But I choose to pay with a credit card because I want my bonus miles.
Mhm. Yeah, and we know your travel schedule also, if you were trying to mow your own grass, would make it so it never got mowed so much. So that would be a disaster. Kim would murder you.
That's
So
it's a very good point. Yeah,
yeah.
there was a point in time before I had it that I had a son that used to be my lawn service, and then he graduated from that too,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Yeah, they do that. We're paying for the first time ever for a lawn service. Yeah. But you bring up a really important point here, man, is like the surcharging mindset is real and people are used to it. Like the industry, at least here in North America, people have gotten used to it. We had a painting brand, we have a painting brand that they said, hey, we'd like to charge or ask for tips, not
Mhm.
surcharges, but tips. And I
Yeah.
was like, you're crazy. Like, we're not going to build that. But we built it because they asked for it and they funded it. And then it turns out I think they collected like $60,000 in tips. And they're not a huge franchise, so maybe like 50 units. And they paid it right back to their contractors. Said, hey, you
Yeah.
got a tip. And that increased their retention. The reason I bring it up is because consumer behavior and expectations has totally shifted around services. Now, you'll still run into people like me. If you're going to ask me for like a tip for like washing my windows, I'd probably be like, bruh, come on, like stop. But a lot of people are used to it. And even if 1 in 5 does it, and 1 in 5 or people, the surcharging thing's not like this, right? But just the mindset has shifted down the road of what used to be just normal for food services is now people are thinking is appropriate, in many cases, for all services. And if you teach your people how to work hard and deliver an excellent experience to the consumer, and they notice the difference, sometimes they will. They won't groan about paying a surcharge, and they'll also sometimes throw a tip on there now, which is crazy.
That's right. Yeah, it's true. Right. And it's cool. Right? I think it's cool that we have this functionality, right? Like we talk about the travel. I use a service where I park my car near the airport and it shuttles me over to the airport to pick you right up at your car, literally at the trunk. The guy 9 times out of 10, he's taking my bag out before I can even get it out of the trunk.
Mhm.
And which is fantastic. But every one of them now has a QR code in the van. So you don't have to have cash with you. You just take a picture, put in your account information, right? Zelle it over, Venmo it over, right? It's a now it's such an easier way of doing business. And again, it's just part and parcel. Like you've got to have these features. If you
Mhm.
go out and you're doing a service and you want to collect while you're there, I had somebody here, I gave him, it was a plumber, and I handed him my credit card, and he had to then call the office, who then had to plug the numbers in, who someone on the other end of that phone had to pick it up, had to talk to him, had to get my information from me, and then it went through, and then I got an emailed receipt from them where why don't they just have a QR code where he can just can't put it in front of me, I could scan it, go out to their platform, I type it in, or have a customer portal even, right, where I could just put all that data in for them because you want me to come back as a customer. Like in fact, this particular service, that's who we use. If we have an issue here, we call that person. In fact, I text them. I don't even call them, and I just say, "Hey, man, can you come out? We have this issue, right?" But this is their process to take my payment. But we've been a customer of theirs for 7 years.
Man, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if you could just they come out, do the job, and it automatically invoices. Zero interaction. You don't have to worry about it. It just happens.
Right. Or again, like have a QR code on your
Mhm.
phone.
It's so
I can just
simple.
hit it and it's built right into he's put the invoice data in there. I hit the QR code. I go out, I pay it into my own portal. Oh, you know what? I got a new credit card. Let me go change that credit card over. Oh, you know what? I don't want to use that ACH account. I want to use this ACH. Let me go in there and change it as opposed to, hey, let me call Bob the plumber
Hmm.
and say, hey Bob, hey Susie, hey whatever. I need to change my information. And now that person who, instead of taking the inbound call, that's a lead, that's a sale, is now dealing with just taking payment over the phone. So
Yeah.
now maybe because I've missed that call, now that caller who left a voicemail isn't getting called back now for 45 minutes because no one's checking that voicemail every 30 seconds. They've already called two other plumbers who are now on their way to give them quotes.
I've got a really good solution for the other issue, but I do. But I want to talk about this for a minute because you're hitting something that I wanted to go back to. So we're talking about the cost of not collecting cash, right? The cost of AR to a franchise system. What's the true cost though? And this is where
Mm.
I want you to, if you don't mind, maybe frame this up a little bit differently. What is the true cost of of not collecting the money, right? So let's talk. We can talk about the interest charge on the credit card because they're floating it. But what about how much does it cost them to have humans chasing customers for new credit cards or for making sure they got the invoice? Like, what does that cost somebody? Because that's a true hard cost.
Yeah, I mean, it could be 20 or $25 an hour, right? Like if you have a bookkeeper that you're using, and now maybe you've got payments let's just say you're using QuickBooks as your source of truth, and it's your invoicing and it's collecting and
Mhm.
it's doing all that. You're
Yeah.
missing out on pass through of the technology fees. You only have a limited number of messages that can get sent out. Three. That's what Intuit limits you to. So now if they don't pay within those first three, someone's got to physically call that person. Now, once that payment's made, if it doesn't actually hit your bank account, it'll still show as paid on that invoice. So it's going to reconcile it in QuickBooks as paid. You're going to have to go back in, manually undo all that work. Where you could use software platforms that have that ability that built that in, make your team more efficient. I mean, we use AI, we talk about it all the time, and AI is a fantastic tool that can make us so much more efficient. But what other elements of your business are you not introducing technology to that
Right.
can make your team more efficient?
Hmm.
And accounts receivable, accounts payable, contacting them from a CRM perspective. Like all these elements are played into your tech stack. It's the brands that like I've had really interesting conversations with over the last few months is, here's where we are today. Here's where we're trying to go. And they're leaving out bits and pieces. It may be not AR, but they're leaving out something over here. They're leaving out something over there. And AI will change that. There'll be somebody that'll come up with a bot that'll take care of that. Not if there's not scale for it, right? And all the
Yeah.
money that Meta and Google and all these other groups are pouring into AI, it's not for operational efficiency,
Mm-mm. No, no,
right?
no.
It's
Yeah.
research efficiency. It's all these other things that they're putting their big dollars behind because if they can solve a medical problem, like what was something I read last week where there's now based upon this AI model where they can find pancreatic cancer before a normal scan could. The AI can detect it because it can look at it from a level that a technician cannot. Right?
Yeah.
There's
Mhm.
where all the dollars are going. They're not going over here to solve some of these minor issues that we have not minor, but these issues that we have in the
Mhm.
franchise world.
Yeah, well, it's like Minority Report, but in the health world, right? Like, ooh, he's
Yeah,
gonna get pancreatic cancer. It's interesting though. Like the same thing can happen on the franchise side with data,
yeah,
and you can't automate a process that you haven't systematized. So
right.
could you eventually create an AR AI agent that would then call? Actually, you can today. By the way, we can talk about that. I've got a partner who could probably snap right into you guys and do that.
Oh
But
yeah,
if
that's
you don't
true.
if you don't systematize it first with like a Biller Genie or something like that, then like having Martha call on collections when she's not answering the phone for leads or answering the phone for dispatch, that is a failure. It's already failing, and you just don't
Yep,
know it. And that's why I think average collections are, over a month and a half long, but
yep,
because there's not a systematized process. And what does that cost the business? The true cost of Martha making AR calls, 20, 25, let's say $25 an hour. Let's say she spends 10 hours a week doing that. That's $1,000 a month you're spending to have a human do an okay job collecting on that money. And there's still things that don't get collected on because she can only call certain times of the day, right?
that's
So,
right.
and using QuickBooks, if you do use the invoicing, we ran our franchises. That's what we had, and the invoice reminders would go out, but we had to call people.
Yeah,
Amy did anyway, to make sure people got their checks in. And
yeah,
man, what a waste of human capital. What should the so there's the hard cost of let's say $1,000 a month of Martha making or Bob making these phone calls for AR, right? And then there's the softer costs, right? Like, oh, the interest rate hit my credit card.
yeah,
You don't think about that. But that's
right,
that's 18, let's say it's eight, let's say you have a great rate, I'm thinking like 10-year-old rates, 18% on that card,
right,
and 18% of cash that you've spent. What are you spending? 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month on that card. Sometimes they 20K a month,
right,
$360 of hard costs just for you doing business that you just wasted because
right.
and Martha. So now we're talking there's 13, $1,400 of wasted cost. But what else? What could you have spent that money on otherwise? Or what could Martha be doing instead of that? Could she be calling happy customers and asking them for a referral and generating revenue?
Right.
I mean, that's the soft cost. You can't, it's hard to monetize that. But what if she could get two extra referrals a month and one of those would close? 50% close rate's normal. The actual cost of your AR is
Right.
incredible. It's
And
incredible.
it's amazing when you really look at the number and you start to really calculate how much you're spending on time, right?
Mhm.
Like with somebody a supplier in the franchise world, he's using us now, using our software because of how much time he was spending doing manual entry into QuickBooks. Like that's happening all day long in businesses all across the country. There's still, and I'm going to forget the number. Tom, our CEO, mentioned it in one of our meetings of how many people still pay by check. It's still the number one source of payment when an invoice is generated.
What?
It, yeah, it's insane how many people pay with a check. Well, how's that getting processed? Do you have a check scanner? Do you just take a picture on your phone? Hopefully, you've got digital banking where you can take a picture and it goes right into your phone. But then that's got to link somewhere. And then who's putting that manual in? Oh, okay, invoice 101 was paid.
Dude, we still get people who pay us with checks. And
Right?
we're a
Exactly.
technology company. Like, good heavens. Every
Yeah.
time I'm like,
Yeah.
are you serious? Like, it's
Yeah.
2026. Like, I haven't touched a text. Well, when we had our franchises, I would write checks every now and then. But uh,
See? I
yeah, but
mean, you do, right? People do it still today. Like it's rare, but there's in some cases personal banking. Like I think from like personally you do maybe a little, but from a business and a collecting side, some people don't want to put $8,000 on a credit card. They'd rather write you a check.
mhm, yeah, missing out on a lot of points, though. I'll say that. A lot of miles.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for diving into that a little bit because the true cost of AR, the time element, the unanticipated value that that person could have gotten, the opportunity cost,
Oh
that's the
man,
real expense that a lot of people aren't thinking about there. Yeah,
agreed.
what could Martha or Bob be doing instead of 20 hours a week chasing money and stuff? You they have to do it, right? They have to do it. That's
They
like
have to.
priority number one, go get that money. But it's taken 47 days and it's eaten up $1,000 of hard cost every month. Plus, that's now 10 hours of productivity a week that somebody's
Yeah,
not putting into something proactive. Ouch. Right? Ouch.
right. Right. Let it work in the background. Like that's the beauty of technology. It can do something while we're doing something else.
Yeah, exactly. It amplifies humans. That's what
Yeah.
AI, all tech should be doing is amplifying the humans.
Right. I think that's why it was originally created, right? If you go back in time, people invented machines to make us more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah, like cotton gin and like all these machines, right? Like, yeah, we created the plow because
Right.
they're out there with a hoe, like chopping stuff down before.
Right.
Right.
And donkeys are they're temperamental.
Mhm.
John Deere's less temperamental.
Yeah, exactly. Well, dude, let's talk a little. So we've talked about like why this is an issue. Let's talk just a little bit about what does it look like when it's solved? Like how do we
Ooh.
solve the issue of AR? Like how do we systematize it and then automate it? Can you mind sharing a little bit? Some of this will be, guys, a little bit about what Biller Genie does. That's fine, actually, because I think you should know. But also, like if you think through the processes he's talking through, I think that's really what I want you to pay attention to in this part.
Yeah, I think like first of all, like, it goes back to systemization, right? You have to have a system in place for your franchisees to follow. And it should go from, turning on the lights every morning to this is how you collect dollars in the evening, right? And it's got to have all those pieces in there. And I think one of the things and I'll just talk about our platform for a minute, but there's other platforms out there that there's really only one other that does exactly what we do, but it's that ability to go in as a franchisor now and even put the language in the invoice that you want. Like think about that invoice is now getting maybe we've got a 30-day payment policy, right? It's coming up to day 31, the day 30. You don't want a franchisee sending an email to a client going, "Hey man, if you don't pay this, we're going to come break your knees."
Mhm.
Right? Like, or maybe it'd be like, "Hey, how you doing? Well,
Yeah. Fica
you
bene,
don't want
vieni
Tony coming
tranquillo.
out."
Yeah.
Tony, you don't want Tony to come see you. But anyways, right? So now you can put that language in there to say, this is how my brand speaks. This is our logo. These are our colors. Like you need to have this so that I look at it from the systemization perspective, and franchising is the critical element. And we
Mhm.
have to have this all over. And I want my brand in front of you in every chance I get. I want them to remember, hey, here's who I used for my lawn service. Here's who I'm using for my pool service, right? Like that's an important piece of this puzzle. And you got to have a system that can say, hey, how do I set this up for you to be successful as Mr. or Mrs. Franchisee? Okay, here's this, and here's how you actually collect your cash, right? Because again, if they're providing a service and not getting paid, they're not going to be in business for very long.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
all that was a kind of a rolling thunder kind of way of going through it, but it just starts with really thinking about what do I need to do in step A? What's step B? We so many franchise systems say to franchisees, you need a QuickBooks online account because it's easy. Everybody knows QuickBooks. That's pressing the easy button. That's great. Here's your chart of accounts. Well, you hope that they load it in there. Now you hope that they're putting their accounting lines in there every day, that they're going in and reconciling accounts. What if we took that off the plate and we systemized it with automation? Now they don't have to worry about that anymore. All they have to do is go in here, fill this data out, and then the rest of it takes care of itself. It's like magic.
Yeah. Well, it's not magic. It's just intelligent coding, right? And automation. But I want to go back and revisit two things. Systematizing it, not only from a process perspective. I mean, this is crazy, right? We shouldn't even have to say this, but in franchising, the whole value of a franchise is you're buying the systemized package, right? And yet
Right.
this is often overlooked. I don't know if I said often enough, but it is super overlooked in that the brands have thought about every like grand opening and the marketing package is great and all these things, but the one thing they forget about, which is the most important, is how do we systematize where people actually get their money? And
Right.
so systematizing the brand on the invoice, systematizing the brand and the experience, the collection terms, the payment terms, like you're we overestimate the capabilities of a typical franchise owner. We think, oh,
Yeah.
they're just going to know that they should be getting this stuff net 15 at most. They don't even know what net 15 friggin' means, right?
Right.
So if we can systematize that for them and then automate as much of the back office as possible. Nobody wants to buy your franchise to reconcile their books on a monthly basis.
Nope.
Nobody buys a franchise because they want to do accounts receivable and collections. And
That's
so,
right.
so if you take the nasty stuff, the stuff they hate or don't want to do off their plate, one, it'll get done because
Right.
they'll keep pushing AR off until they have $500,000 on the books they need to collect. They just don't want to make the call. It's an awkward call. It's actually, I think that's a harder call than the call just to cold call to get someone to want to buy your business in the first place.
Oh, agreed. 100%. And yeah, oh man, there was something I was gonna say. You said something that like clicked off, and I was like, oh man, that's a oh man, I can't remember what it was. Oh, I
Yeah,
hate that.
it'll come back. It'll come back.
Yeah, but it'll be 3 days from now.
That's good.
Uh,
We'll do a follow on
yeah,
after it.
right.
Yeah.
Oh man, what was it? It was when you were talking about the yeah, it doesn't matter. Let's keep going.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. So if it comes back, just interrupt me. But
Okay.
yeah, but I think that's the key. That's the key here that you just described is systematize, then automate and get the hard stuff off the plate so they can focus. Where do we want the franchise owners focusing?
Right. I know. I just remembered. Right. So, and I think that's part of it, right? We talk all the time about where's the weaknesses of the franchisees, and especially if it's a corporate refugee, a lot of times, or not a corporate, they've got gaps in their abilities. That's what we should be talking about in the development process, right? Here's their strengths, here's their weakness. Do we have built into our processes and our systems within our franchise the ability to cover these weaknesses? Because no one is going to be perfect, right? Babe Ruth didn't bat 1,000. No one's perfect ever. So there's going to be gaps here, right? Although I have to update that Babe Ruth. I should first start saying
Otani.
Otani, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Although he might be perfect. He might be the greatest athlete we've ever seen.
Mhm.
Anyways,
Possibly. Go
but
Dodgers.
here's these gaps, and we always see these gaps. A lot of times, we see gaps in their financial acumen, and so we think about how do we teach them to read a P&L statement, profit and loss, right? How do we teach them how to look at a balance sheet and really understand what a balance sheet means?
Mhm.
Here's another element of it where if they don't understand the like a net 15, a net 30, what these terms mean, that's where your coaching has to come in. If you don't have a system to overcome that, and to your point, as human beings, we always avoid what we don't know. we gravitate to what we know and what we understand. It's human nature.
Mhm.
And that piece, if they don't understand it and it's scary to them, they're not going to focus on it. And when they stop focusing on it, all of a sudden they've got a cash flow problem. And you've got this amazing person that you thought was going to absolutely destroy it in your system, who now you're having a termination conversation with 6 months in.
Yeah, because it ran out of money because it's not
Yep.
coming in. And
Yep.
that could be a sell, but sales and marketing tends to be where everybody focuses, right? But it's not on, once it's done, then what?
Then
And,
what?
there's another layer deeper too that just crossed my mind. So I feel like I got to mention it. Plus, we can give a shout out to like Angela Cote and team, but like a lot of people are hiring FBCs or coaches that also don't have these skills, right? So
Right.
if your coaches don't understand how to read a P&L, I mean, maybe we teach them that, but they don't understand what a balance sheet is or what a statement of cash flows is. They don't understand AR and how to make sure that people are actually increasing the speed, the velocity with which they collect cash. You probably need to think about hiring different people, or you got to train them all up. Make sure they understand because that is, cash is king,
Yep.
and even more so today than it has been because the market's tight. So there aren't as many leads in home services and at most service categories. There aren't as many deals, so people have to close better, and they also have
Yep.
to get the cash better so they can keep operating. So I just want to add that on top of that. The coaches have to know this stuff too.
Agreed. And they're not going to be QuickBooks experts either, right? So how are you going to, what if they have questions about how to reconcile those accounts? Now they're calling you and you're saying, I'm not really sure. Let me Google it. Let me find out. Let me see if there's someone here. Oh, your bookkeeper might know how to do that. Yeah, but my bookkeeper, I pay them $12 an hour. If I pick up the phone, they're going to start charging me.
Uh, Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you, man. So tell me this. I know we've got just a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
Keith, you are on the road all the time, all the time. What would you say of all the 20, 30 events you'll probably go to this year, or you've been to in the past? Like, what would you say is one of the more impactful events? What do you recommend people
Yeah.
take a look at?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to sound, self-serving maybe because I'm a sponsor of it, but we also were a sponsor at, well, I'll say the service summit, the franchise service summit, right? Like we did it last year, obviously, as a member of the client tether team, first year that we'd ever done it. I love events that are on the smaller side. I always have because you get better connectivity with folks. You really get to become friends with them, right? While you're there because you're spending 3, 4 days together. And I think the mastermind element of the service summit is really cool. So you get like the high level viewpoint from Danessa last year and Ken and I'm going to forget everybody else who got up and spoke, but they gave you these really great, here's where we screwed up, here's where we did great. And then we were able to go back in our small groups and talk about what we just heard, but also then associate it to what we were dealing with. And then having that ability to be like and be vulnerable in a space that you knew was safe. And it was amazing how the conversations carried over. It was like, okay, we're at our mastermind table, and then we'd go over to the pool or we go off to do ATV riding, and you would still be having the conversation in the breaks. You'd be like, hey, you know what I was thinking? Because it was wild. And I think the part where we got out, like I spent 2 hours in a river fly fishing, learning how to. And so, what does that have to do with my personal development and growth? Well, it was a challenge. I've never done it before, so I put myself out there and tried something I'd never done before, and it was a challenge to do it and do it the right way to get the fish to actually catch. And I had the most fish caught, no matter what anybody else tells you. Actually, I came in second in that clip, but Tiffany Curley did not come in first.
Okay,
I don't
we got
care.
to highlight that. I'll highlight that in the
Yeah,
podcast.
absolutely. I want that in big bold letters. But anyways, right? Like it challenged you mentally. It challenged you a little bit physically. And it challenged you to just be vulnerable. And so there's not a lot of conferences that wrap all of that together. I think Unconference does a pretty good job of that too,
Yeah.
because there's experiential elements of that, and it's a smaller group as well. I think so. If I was I would rank those one and two. Service Summit and Unconference as the two that have the most impact on me.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
No
And
problem.
I see it the same way. Like because the challenge we've got is we engage with people in short clips constantly, right? Internally, it's Slack or whatever your Teams, whatever you're chatting on. On social media, super quick clips. So I like this. You don't even have to say anything. You just click a button to engage. It's not true engagement. At IFA, there's so many people and so many places you got to be, three places at once, that every conversation you have is 90 seconds long. Like you can't
Yep.
even get a quick update on somebody's life or kids or their hip replacement, right? Like you can't even get a true update on like a real meaningful thing in 90 seconds. And it's so freaking loud everywhere. You can't
Yeah.
even have a real conversation anywhere, right? At these events. So sometimes pulling away from the noise is just a psychological. In fact, about to publish an article on LinkedIn about this, but like the actual science behind why is incredible. Like it's
Yeah.
like better than any therapy, drug, anything like that you could do to try to change your mental health. Best thing you can do is get outside. Second best thing you can do, go like be around animals, just nature in general, like touch a tree, pet a dog. Like it's wild what happens to the human brain. But if you think about it, we've been wired for millennia to
Sure.
be
Yeah.
around nature, outside, hear the wind going through the trees. Like that's just like part of our core DNA. And
Well,
the way that we do business today has nothing. It's like the polar opposite of what it is,
right.
right?
I get it, right? You go to a conference, everybody wants to put as much value as possible into the conference. So that means you've got to be in a room listening to an expert talk about it. But what do we always do is the minute we want to go on vacation, the minute we want to relax, we go find a beach, we go on a cruise, we go skiing, you go do a nice dinner. You might sit outside
Mhm.
while you have it, right? Like who likes to when I live in Baltimore County, beautiful spring day. There's nothing better than I live 20 minutes from the bay, to go over to the bay and hit one of the dockside restaurants that has a marina there and looking at the boats coming and going and
Mhm.
the birds are chirping and the gulls are squawking, right? Like
Yeah.
that's relaxing.
Yeah.
Why don't we put that into our business environment?
Why not? It's hard. Like it does, it's
Sorry.
deliberately hard. I think that's why. And it's not as easy. You can't have 4,000 people show up and do this, right?
No, you
So,
can't.
but yeah, I appreciate what you're saying because it's spot on. Like when everyone thinks like I need to disconnect, I need to relax, I need to unwind, I need to recharge. They don't, I mean, frankly, most people don't want to go to Disneyland. You got little kids and you come back. Have you ever been to Disneyland and come back feeling recharged?
No, never. I used to
Never.
joke and say every time you do vacation, once you get back from a Disney vacation.
No. Yeah, we've never done a full Disney like that. We always have like beach days in between. So I've come back and felt okay. But I tell you, like Mike, even my kids when they were little, we did this huge trip. We sold a business. They used to help us when they were little. We did a Southern California tour. We hit SeaWorld, Legoland, Disney. Like did all the major parks down there. And when were driving home, I asked all the kids, what was your favorite part of this trip? And you know what they said? Like almost in unison, they're like, the beach, the
Yep.
beach, the beach. Even they, as kids, were like, they did all these things they'd been dreaming of. They didn't even mention Legoland. They didn't
No.
mention SeaWorld. We almost lost Johnny at SeaWorld. Maybe that's why he didn't bring that one up, but yeah, it's sketchy. But anyway, like no one brought it up. They brought up nature, being outside, connecting, being grounded in the sand on the beach. Like it's
Yep.
interesting. So
Yeah.
how do we infuse that into business? That's kind of the goal, I guess, with Service Franchise Summit, but even unconference. Like I love that aspect of it. Totally
Yeah.
agree.
Totally. Yeah. And it's ironic they're both in about the same area of Utah, right? Which if you haven't been to Utah, wow, is it spectacular. Like
Oh yeah.
one of the most beautiful places, right?
Sneak preview, right, of some of the stuff.
It really is truly one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen with my own eyes. And I've been I think I've hit 40 of the 52 states so far in my life. So I've been to a few of them. I've seen a few things.
Did you just say 52 states?
Did I say?
I'm not editing that out at all.
No, definitely do not. Yeah. Well, I was adding in, Canada.
Puerto Rico. Oh, dude. Yeah, my Canadian friends are gonna murder you.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. That's all right.
So yeah, we do have Puerto Rico and Guam. Maybe that's what you were thinking.
No, I was thinking, no, I don't even know what I was thinking about 52. I'm
I
an
love that.
expansionist. Greenland, between Greenland and Canada, I figured that should get us to 52.
So glad I'm recording this right now.
Yeah, me too. Take that, Stephen.
Yeah, all right. Before we get too far off the rails, guys, as you can probably tell, not only an incredibly fun guy, a little bit of an expansionist, but we can move on beyond that. But Keith knows a lot about what brands can do to improve this operational need that they've got. If anyone wanted to reach out to you, Keith, what's the best way for someone to connect with you if they say, "Hey, I do have an AR issue or a speed to cash issue with my brands. I want to solve this." What's the best way for them to contact you?
Yeah, they can go on LinkedIn. My email address is on there. In fact, my calendar link is on there on my LinkedIn page. You can book some time with me, and I'm happy to talk about anything franchise related. 'Cause as people know, I will talk to you about what shows I think are the best to go to. I'll talk to you about anything you want to talk about in the franchise world.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, and I can attest Keith is on LinkedIn. He's pretty active there too. But or you can come to Service Franchise Summit and meet him there, or pretty much any industry event, you'll find Keith there.
Yeah, IFE, Frame Camp, Service Summit. Yeah, I'll be a few places in the next month.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, we'll see you soon. Thanks for making time
Well,
to
thanks,
do
Dave. Appreciate it, man.